But first, Firebrand MP Lee Anderson has declared he won't say sorry over his attack on London Mayor Sadiq Khan because it would be a sign of weakness. He doubled down on his controversial comments, insisting when you think you are right, you should never apologise. The ex-deputy party chairman was stripped of the Tory whip on Saturday after claiming Khan was controlled by Islamists. The incendiary remarks sparked widespread condemnation from across the political divide, while others claimed Anderson had spoken for millions of ordinary Brits. Rishi Sunak is facing warnings from Red Wall MPs that the party could face a backlash in key seats over the sacking. The Prime Minister called Anderson's comments wrong and unacceptable, but denied the Conservatives had issues with Islamophobia.
Well, I think the most important thing is that the words were wrong. They were ill-judged, they were unacceptable, and that's what I believe, and that's why the whip has been suspended. And I think everyone can see that tensions are already running high, and what I want to do, I think what the country wants to see, is the heat taken out of this debate, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Well, Sadiq Khan himself lashed out at Sunak for failing to condemn what he called the racist remarks and accused Anderson of pouring petrol on the fires of hatred. Meanwhile, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer branded the Prime Minister weak.
I think this is straightforward. It's Islamophobia, and the Prime Minister should call it out for what it is. The reason he won't is because he's so weak.
I think the Conservative leadership is tying itself in knots over this issue. If we can put to one side what Lee Anderson said, I do think the reaction has been weak and poor. It took far too long to come out from Sunak or anyone else within the Conservative Party to condemn what Lee Anderson said, and now they're using kind of weasel words because they're worried about annoying parts of the Conservative Party if they come down too strong on Anderson. So they keep saying what he said was wrong, ... And then when they're being pushed, whether it's Oliver Dowden at the weekend or Mark Harper this morning or the Prime Minister, cabinet ministers being pushed on, what do you mean wrong? Do you mean racist? Was what he said racist? There's tumbleweed, and they can't continue that argument or really come out with what they're saying. So I do think the Conservative Party is trying to have its cake and eat it. If it's wrong and say it's racist.
Last week we had politicians tying themselves up in knots to find how many ways you can say ceasefire without saying ceasefire. And now we've got a similar thing with this. Dear old Lee Anderson, I quite like Lee Anderson, but he's gone full-on kind of Oprah here with my truth. It's my truth, so therefore I can't unthink it. But he's one of those characters, you get them in politics on the left and the right. Donald Trump, Jeremy Corbyn, the fan base of those kind of people, no matter what you say, no matter what evidence you throw into the equation, you could show a video, you could have lawyers there going, no, this is demonstrably untrue. What he said about Sadiq Khan, so many things you can say about Sadiq Khan. You can bang on about ULEZ, you can talk about the fact that he's weak on the police that he's in charge of in his own city. But what you can't say is something that is simply not true. And it's not true that he is guided by Islamists. It's just his mates that have somehow, this cartel of people that all gather together and tell Sadiq what to do. It's just not true. I don't like Sadiq Khan. Isabel Oakeshott earlier called him a B-list B-list politician. I wouldn't be as generous as that. He's in the D's and the E's, maybe even down to an F on a bad day. I don't think he's very good. And I think the bloke is, I hope he's elected out of office. But he's not controlled by Islamists. It's just a fact. So Lee should just fess up and go, do you know what? I called it wrong. He said he spoke clumsily. I called it wrong, and I shouldn't have said that. But instead, he's saying, well, I believe this, so I'm not going to... And his fans still lap it up.
They will. And actually, what Lee Anderson said is resonating with a lot of people across the country. He's admitted that his words were possibly clumsy, but he's also articulating something in the country. I know Lee and I like him, and I actually get in trouble for saying this, but he's actually quite a good politician. He's a good MP. He cares about his constituents. He goes to see his poorly constituents in hospital. He bothers with people.
But back to Islamophobia.
He's a politician.
But back to Islamophobia.
He's not Islamophobic.
But that's what the debate is about, whether what he said was the problem with the Tory party.
But he's actually a politician who, unlike most of them, has done a proper job. He was a coal miner for 10 years.
What's that got to do with this debate,
He was a Labour councillor until he defected to the Tories.
Yeah.
He's a real person.
This is a great issue with Anderson, but this is not answering the question that we're talking about right now. I've spoken to three Tory MPs today. They said, actually, this isn't a big problem in the Tory party because they don't agree with what Lee Anderson said, but they don't want to come out and say that because they're scared of the reaction from some of the public. These three MPs also said to me that this is a dangerous precedent for the party because they've stripped Lee Anderson for saying this stuff, which some people say is Islamophobic. But last year, Tobias Ellwood said, Taliban are great. They've been doing great things over there. He came out in support of a terrorist group and nothing happened to him. He wasn't stripped of anything. And then you've got Liz Truss over in the US in the last week.
The tinfoil hat tour.
Yeah. She's gone completely loony. She's got Bannon saying Tom Robinson's a hero, he's great, and she's standing there being like, nothing happens to her. But then Lee says this, and he's disciplined for it. Yeah, but this is what the MPs are saying. Well, it doesn't really make sense because it's not level across the board.
But I think where he's made the mistake is that he's simply gone for the individual. That Ian, as you correctly say, and this is something that I was saying on talk on Saturday, which is, there are so many things that you can criticise Sadiq Khan for. And if you want to say, I don't think it's right that these marches take place, I don't think it's right that the police aren't taking action, that is on your watch, Sadiq Khan, then that would be a powerful politician using their platform to helpfully move on the debate. What he's done is debase it into some kind of mudslinging exercise where people can accuse him of Islamophobia. I don't think it is particularly. I just think it's really clumsy, and I think that there are a lot of things that he could have said which would have been so much more helpful to this debate, because at the extremity of the Muslim religion, and indeed all religions in the UK, there are things which are going on that we won't touch, we as in society won't touch, because we fear for what might happen should we call people out on the treatment of women, the treatment of people in other religions, the treatments in same-sex relationships, all sorts of things that we, society, have dealt with. And that is part of the issue here, that we have a group of people within a bigger group of people who are prepared to be brazen with their comments, who are prepared to do things and say things which are appalling and are anti-Semitic or racist or various other things, and we won't call it out for fear. And I think that's almost what Lee Anderson is touching on, but he's done it so clumsily, he's brought it back on himself, made it worse.
Yeah.